Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by SonicWeb Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget, SonicWeb Studios is the answer. SonicWeb Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. SonicWeb Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for Goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com and over 40 podcast platforms and in heard over 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible, Apple Music. Now heard on HamiltonRadio.net, Oldies FM, Diamonds FM, and soon to be networks coming near you. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies, baseball gear, and more. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also T-shirts, pop sockets, and phone cases and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today. Also support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, themikewagnershow.com, and you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com for the Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you do so today. We're here with an amazing gentleman who's a veteran coin collector tracing back to his great-great-grandfather and began at the age of 5 collecting wheat pennies from his grandfather, and has a really interesting story on how he got started. He also collected coins from all over the world and hired by a wonderful gentleman at an auction house in New York, and later met a wonderful gentleman and started RCTV in 2014. And we'll find out what is RCT. It's going to be a rarity, folks. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in his wonderful studios at RCTV, the amazing coin collector. And of course, if you got some change in your pocket, you might want to pull some out right now, and you might want to going through, you might end up with $1 million. Ladies and gentlemen, veteran coin collector of RareCollectiblesTV.com, the amazing Jack McNamara. Jack, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Wow, thank you so much, Mike. That was quite an introduction. I appreciate it.
Well, no problem. In fact, I was going through some of my pockets as well too. It's like I think somebody's stealing my coins, and so for those of you out there right now who are watching or listening to this, you might want to pull out what you have in your pockets. Maybe get your coin jar. This gentleman here will talk about what coins are rare, what you can find, and everything else. He's been a veteran coin collector for a number of years, tracing back to his great-great-grandfather, and began at the age of 5 collecting wheat pennies from his grandfather. He also collects coins from all over the world, and he was hired by Larry Stack of Stack's auction house in New York, and later met Rick Tomasaka and started RCTV, which is RareCollectiblesTV.com. And it's a very unique coin network TV, and gives you all the nuts and bolts about that, a little bit of dollars and cents. And before getting all that, Jack, tell us how I first got started.
So how I got started?
Yes, correct. Go all the way back. You can talk about your great-great-grandfather, and I wish I was there collecting those wheat pennies. So
Yeah, so I got started as a little kid. I mean, I've been collecting coins as long as I can remember. My grandfather was a lifelong collector, as a hobbyist, not professionally, but he, had a passion for old coins, and he shared that with me and my brother and some of my cousins. And when we were kids, like you said, we played this little game of bingo. I had the old coin albums like a lot of people had, with the little spaces with each, lists each date and each mint the coins were made. And I had that wheat penny album, and he had this bin of, I remember being like a garbage can, but it was probably like a little jar or something. When you're a little kid, everything seems so big.
I remember those days. Yeah.
But he had this jar of wheat pennies, the old, 1958 and earlier, where the Lincoln cents had the wheat years on the back.
Mhm.
And he would go in there and he'd pull out the coins and he'd read off the date, 1943, P, or 19 29, whatever, and we'd put it in our book. Say, oh, I need
Huh.
that one, and we put it in our book, and that's how we started kind of building this collection. And then from there, we had other books where we'd go through my mom's change and look for nickels and dimes and whatever different coins, and eventually get my parents to go to the bank and, can you go get a couple rolls of quarters or half dollars?
I remember those days. Yes.
And it was always a lot of fun, and I always looked forward to birthdays and Christmas and things where my grandfather would maybe pick out something that I wasn't ever going to find in change, some old silver coin from the 1800s or an odd denomination. They actually made, in the 1800s, they made 2-cent pieces and 3-cent pieces and
Really?
things. Yeah. And so I'd always be excited. My grandfather would, pick out something really unusual that I wouldn't have seen. And, by the time I was in my, 10, 12 years old, we'd go to the local coin store. And when I was old enough, I'd ride my bike down there and I'd mow lawns and get a little money and, look through things. And just, it was always just something fun, but especially kind of a connection with my grandfather too, though. And, I didn't realize it in school. History wasn't necessarily my favorite subject, but as I got older and more interested, I've learned so much about history because I then get interested in these old coins. I've learned a lot about, the revolution and colonial times and the Civil War, just kind of by what was going on with the coins. Like I said, there's a 2-cent piece. They started making a 2-cent piece in 1864. And, that was during the Civil War. Well, because there was all this upheaval in the country, some of the, politicians thought it would be a good idea to put "In God We Trust" on the coin. So the first coin, and today they all have it, it became law in the 1950s. But the first time they put "In God We Trust" on coin was a 2-cent piece in 1864.
Wow.
And then they added it to all the coins in the next few years, but it wasn't mandated. So there were some coins afterwards where they didn't have it. But I learned that through coins. Like, you start to learn about, oh, the Civil War, there's all these things. Oh, what were kind of individual people thinking? Like, oh, well, people were starting to really, look more to religion and to spirituality to help heal, because all this pain the country was going through. Things like this that I learned as a kid through collecting coins.
That's interesting. In God and trust, we can afford this. So
right. So it kind of expanded though from there. I, during college, was busy with other things, high school, but it was always kind of this interest I had, even if it wasn't like my focus. And then after college, I had some other jobs, and I worked for Prudential, I worked for Equitable, I did some other things, but I always enjoyed this hobby. And I thought, I got to figure out how to make this my profession, because I was bored with my jobs, and they were just jobs. It wasn't really a career. And this was something I was doing anyway. I'm up at night reading books about coins and magazines about coins and researching and, going to coin shows and things. So I decided to contact Stacks, which is America's oldest auction house, coin dealer, coin auction house, and spoke to them. Was hired by Larry Stack and his father, Harvey Stack. I worked with him every day, which was an amazing experience, because Harvey, God bless him, passed this past year recently, but he started working at that store in the 1940s, and I'm working with this guy, and he's telling the stories about the personalities of these collectors over the years, and it was just such a great experience. I learned so much about coins, met so many people, and eventually moved out to California to work for a different company as a buyer. And that's where I met Rick Tamaska, who is one of my partners. And then I have another partner, Greg Thomas, met them out here, and we formed Rare Collectibles TV in 2014. And it was such a great kind of marriage of skills. Rick is another coin expert who's written a lot of books, especially on Franklin half dollars, Kennedy half dollars, proof coins, which I can talk more about later, but proof coins are coins specially made for collectors. And he's an expert in those areas. He's written books. He was on TV before. So he was great at kind of sharing this knowledge. I was mainly the buyer, although I also am on TV and, am selling as well. And then our other partner has a background in media and marketing. So he's able to help us kind of, here's how you get the word out to the most
Oh,
people.
wow. Okay.
So it's a great fit.
Now, did you have to pay them in coins to get this going here? I'm kidding.
For us coin geeks, we'd probably prefer to be paid in rare coins.
I was just thinking about this. You mentioned about the Franklin and JFKs. Was it the half dollars or dollars? What was the difference between the two? And or did you just carry like the same thing?
Well, yeah, they were as far as spending money, they were the same thing. So the Franklin half was from 1948 to 1963, and normally a coin, they don't change the design unless it's 25 years normally. And when Kennedy was assassinated, they wanted to do something to honor him. And, it was such a huge event. I wasn't born yet, but everyone I know who's a little older than me remembers exactly where they were. It was such a, life-altering event for the country. So they wanted to honor, and remember Kennedy, and they wanted to put him on a coin. So they actually went to Jackie, and they originally wanted to put Kennedy on the quarter.
Oh.
But it was Jackie Kennedy who said, you can't take Washington off the quarter. He's too important. So then they opted to replace Franklin, even though they probably would have, the Franklin half series probably would have continued a little bit longer, but they opted to put Kennedy on the half dollar because they didn't want to replace Washington. I guess they felt it was a little easier to replace Franklin, even though he's clearly one of the most important founding fathers as well. So that was, 1964. Kennedy was killed in 63. 64, they put out this new half dollar with Kennedy, and it was such a hit. They made a ton of them because people, they were still using half dollars. Now they still make half dollars. You don't see them in change anymore, really. They're just not used. But back then they were still used, and they were struggling to have enough to circulate because everybody who got them would keep them, and they wouldn't spend them because they wanted it as a memento.
Just like the $2 bill, nobody wants to spend it. You're right. So
right, yeah, the $2 bill, they still make them, but you don't really see them. So the Kennedy was also, what happened was, because the price of silver was going up, 1964 was the last year that our coins were silver. Before that, we had 90% silver in the halves and the dimes and the quarters. I mean, the penny was always copper or some alloy of copper. The nickel is called a nickel because it's made of nickel, but the other coins were actually silver back then. 64 was the last year of silver coinage because the price of silver was going up. But for Kennedy, they wanted to kind of keep it special because of this, recent, horrible event. So they actually kept the Kennedy half dollar with 40% silver up until 1970. So that's the only one that after 1964 did have some silver in it for a little while.
Mm-hmm. And if someone were to sell the Kennedy half dollar, like with the price of silver, it was up at one point, and from what I understand, it's been kind of down. It's up and down like gold and everything else. How much would the Kennedy go for today, by your estimation?
If it's just a worn, beat up one, just for the silver value alone, it's probably, I could tell you exactly what it is today. It's the silver value alone right now in a Kennedy half is about $8 of silver.
Not bad.
But most of the ones we deal in are, high grade or different, so they're going to cost more than the silver. But if you had an old one, in a jar laying around, it's going to be worth at least that, just for the silver value alone.
Mm-hmm. And how about the Franklin half dollar? How much would that go for today?
Franklin would be the same thing. Again,
okay.
I'm not talking about numismatic, rare dates or high, finest known condition. They can be, there's been Franklin halves and Kennedy halves where the right one has been, over $100,000. That's very unusual. There's only been one or two of each of those series that to be in that kind of echelon, but at the very least, they're about $8. We have many that we've sell for thousands of dollars. Again, you're talking about the rarity of it. It's something that is unique because there's very few in that level of preservation, or for a particular date, especially.
And what's the most rarest coin or the most unusual that you ever encountered?
You know, there's so many interesting ones. We've had some really cool. One of my favorites that, and we actually sold one of these about a year ago. So there's a whole story in the turn of the century. We call this era in the beginning of the 20th century, the Renaissance of American coinage. Roosevelt became president, and he thought our coins were ugly. He actually wrote a letter to the Secretary of Treasury, and he said that our coins are of atrocious hideousness. That's Roosevelt's words that he used in this letter. And he said, can we get someone like Augustus St. Gaudens, who was kind of the most renowned artist of the day, to redesign our coins? And they actually did. St. Gaudens kind of begrudgingly agreed to do it. He had some run-ins with the mint in the past where he made a medal for them, and then they changed it on him, and he was so angry. Yeah, so he didn't want to do it, but Roosevelt, and him were close, and he convinced him. So the first coins they worked on were the gold coins, the largest coins. They were, because back then, they used gold in our coins too. Let alone today, we don't even have silver; it's all copper, nickel. Back before 1933, our coins actually, $20 gold coins were used. So they started with these largest coins, the $20 coins, and St. Gaudens was up there in age. He was actually dying of cancer during the period. So if he was healthy, he probably would have redesigned all of the coins. They had to get other people to do the other coins, but he did the $20 and the $10. And the $20 coin that he designed, we call it the St. Gaudens double eagle, which is and a double eagle is a $20 coin. It doesn't have two eagles. It's because the biggest coin originally was the $10 coin. We call that an eagle. So $20 coin they call double eagle. So St. Gaudens works with Roosevelt. They decide to look at these ancient Greek coins that were done in what they call high relief. So the design is really raised from the coin. It's really a sculpture. It's really a work of art. And they're looking at this as an artwork, which it is, but they have to make enough to actually use for circulation for banking. So they're making this work of art. And the very first ones that they made were what they call ultra high relief. So the design, there's this woman, Miss Liberty, Lady Liberty on the coin, and she's striding towards the viewer. And it's such a beautiful coin because you have this Lady Liberty with these flowing gowns. She's holding a torch in front of her, which represents enlightenment. And then to her side, she's holding the olive branch of peace. And it's symbolizing that, wherever enlightenment goes, liberty and peace will follow. And she's walking towards the viewer, looks like she's walking off the coin towards you, and showing that, America is bringing this liberty. And now she's been to America. You see a little Capitol building. She's been here, and she's striding towards the rest of the world to share this with the rest of the world. And the original coins that they made were what they call ultra high relief. So it was really, really raised, but it was like impossible to make these coins. They had to, the machinery was breaking. They wouldn't stack. So the very first ones in this ultra high relief format, there's only about, I think, 16 made. So so extremely, extremely rare. Now, this is the kind of thing you'd find in the Smithsonian. We had one that we sold to a client of ours for low seven figures. That's one of the most famous coins in numismatics. And the St. Gaudens, I mean, that's because it's one of those earliest, most ultra high relief ones, extremely rare. They also they lowered it a little then, and they made a high relief that circulated. That's also a low mintage coin, but still, you're talking, I think, 12,000 or so. It's available. There's a lot of collectors who like those, and that's depending on the condition. They can start at $15,000 or $20,000 and up. But then they lowered it all the way because they were still too hard to make. The machines are break. The bankers are complaining because they won't stack. So then they lowered the relief to what then was the kind of final design. They used it from 1907 to 1933 when we stopped using gold. And that's probably the most popular, most popular gold coin, I'd say, widely considered the most beautiful gold coin. And some of those coins we have for they start at maybe $3,000 to $5,000, and you can get a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gold coin with so much history to it, and just it really is a work of art, and it's about an ounce of gold. So that's a very popular thing. But one of my favorites was that ultra high relief coin, because this is really the way Roosevelt and St. Gaudens envisioned this. You know, it was, they were looking at it as a work of art, not just some functional, you know, thing to trade. You know, so that's probably my favorite one that we've had here. It's just such an incredible coin.
And of course, if someone were to cash in the wheat pennies, how much would it be today?
You know, coins, it's all about any collectible, really. It's totally a function of supply and demand. So if you have just a common date from the 1940s that's not rare, and it's just a circulated average one, they're still not too much more than a cent. I'm always excited when I find them, because I never see them, and it's such a piece of history. Like, and I wonder, you know, who held this. But a lot of those later date ones are a few cents, but there are certain ones that are worth a lot of money. You know, for example, one that's very famous was 1943 during World War II. They needed the copper and bronze for ammunition and for things for the war effort. So they struck them in steel for 1 year. And a lot of people recognize it looks kind of more of a silver color. Sometimes they look ugly because they get rusted because it's steel, it's got a zinc coating. But unintentionally, the mint did strike a small quantity. They weren't doing it on purpose, but they did make some on the normal, you know, copper planchets. So they're the 1943s that were made in copper. That's an incredibly rare coin. And, you know, some of those coins can go for over $100,000. You know, that's a rare, you know, I think there's maybe a few dozen of those known total. And, you know, every once in a while, you think they found them all, and then one comes out of the woodwork now and again. And it's a big deal. That's an exciting one.
It's almost like you just want to take a metal detector and you just go through it. And sometimes I've heard stories where you go through the beach, you find the some of the rarest out there. And how about some of the coins out there that were made in error? And maybe you can just tell us about some of the coins that were made in error, or like there was stop in production, there was some problems with it, and some of the famous coins out there that were made in error, and how much will they go for?
Yes, sometimes you'll see, you know, there's different kinds of errors. So there's striking errors, meaning when the two dies that strike the coin come together, something goes wrong. So you can have a coin that was struck off-centered. So half of the coin is all off-centered, and you see kind of half of the design. You can see coins that were struck multiple times. So the coin, when it went through the machinery, it didn't eject properly. So it got struck, 2, 3, 5, times because it was stuck in the machine. There's coins there's one that's called a brockage, which is a very unusual, where a coin gets stuck in the machine and basically acts as the die and strikes the coin. So instead of having like a heads and a tails, the heads we call the obverse, the tails we call the reverse. So instead of having an obverse and reverse, it'll have, say, the obverse is normal on one side and the other side is like a mirrored image, like a reverse image of it on the other side, because a coin was used to strike it instead of the die was used. One of the most famous ones, I think now there's maybe 15 known, is an error that's called a mule. And what a mule is where an obverse and a reverse of two different coins are paired together.
Oh, wow.
So this happened with the Sacagawea dollar, which is, the golden color dollar that we use, has Sacagawea on the obverse, has the eagle on the reverse. Well, when those coins started coming out, it's similar in size to a quarter. So there's actually about 15 known where it has, on the head side, instead of having Sacagawea, it has George Washington from a quarter, and the reverse has the eagle that was supposed to be on the dollar, and it's on the golden planchet, like the golden color coin, but it has this George Washington head, a quarter on one side and a dollar on the other side. And those are very, very valuable. I think the last one sold for, again, over $100,000,
wow.
It's a $50,000 to $100,000 very rare coin. A famous one that I love too is there's a penny from 1955. And this is an error, not in the striking. It's not that the machinery jammed or something, but it's the die, which is sort of like the stamp that makes the coin. When they were making that die, something shifted. So they call this coin, it's from 1955, and they call it a 1955 double die. So it's a penny. And when they struck maybe several thousand this way, because it was the die that kept striking coins with this error. And what it is it looks like you're seeing double, like the date and everything is all doubled. It's like, it looks all blurry. And I love that coin because it's just such a dramatic, wild looking kind of an error. And one of the stories I've heard about it, whether it's true or not, I'm not sure if it's been substantiated, but it kind of makes sense. The story I had heard was in 1955, when these came out, they still had vending machines for cigarettes.
Oh, I remember those. Yes. And
right, the little
you didn't have to be 18. You could just sneak in like you're like 11, 12 years old. I'm on these for mom and dad, but they're really there for you. You put these in and you clang. It's like nobody really cared. I love messing with those things. Those are great.
But so the story with this 55 double die penny, though, that apparently someone figured out was those vending machines. I think it was either 49 cents or 99 cents or whatever it was for a pack of cigarettes back then. So what they would do to make change was they actually would put a penny in the cellophane in the box of cigarettes. So the little cellophane, there'd be a penny stuck in there. And I guess somehow a batch of these error 1955 double die pennies ended up in Massachusetts or in New England, and somehow ended up being the pennies that went into these cigarette packs. And guys who were coin collectors realized this, and they go and start buying these packs of cigarettes to try and find the pennies with this rare error coin.
Oh my gosh.
So it's funny how these things get out and all these crazy stories that kind of go along with them.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we'll share more of those crazy stories, and also the most famous $1 million coin, and also being featured on a Rare Collectibles TV with Jack McNamara. We'll talk about just a minute. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give our official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews and even loved and enjoyed by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for it goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia. Available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com and over 40 podcast platforms. Also on HamiltonRadio.net, Diamonds FM, and Oldies Radio, and a few others coming soon near you. Take the Mike Wagner Show with your mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com and check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books, merchandise, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today. Also support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com for the Mike Wagner Show. Make sure you do so today. We're here with veteran coin collector Jack McNamara here on the Mike Wagner Show, and it's worth every penny and every dime, literally, just to listen to this guy. And well, speaking of just rare stories, you happen to find a $1 million coin, and just tell us about that.
Well, we're talking about the ultra high relief I just spoke about, or
I think it was 1894 S Barber dime or something.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I didn't exactly find it, but that was a big moment in my career when I was newly working at Stax. It was a lot of fun for me because today, for higher end coins, they're all certified by these third-party companies. There's a company, PCGS, and a company, NGC. They don't buy or sell coins. they put them in a holder that's tamper proof, so you can't switch it. And basically it has the little certificate of authenticity in there that tells you it's genuine, and it tells you the condition of the coin. So this was a coin that was from an old time collection that was sent to Stax to be auctioned. It wasn't certified by one of these companies, so they wanted to send it to be certified. And I was kind of a newbie there, as a little green, and easily excited. And I knew what this coin was because I was collecting since I was a little kid, and I was looking, reading books about coins, and so I knew what this coin was. So a friend of mine there at Stax hands me an envelope, and I don't even realize this coin is in the building or anything. And he says, "Oh, here, I need you to take this out of this old holder because we're going to send it to the grading service to grade it." And okay, no problem. And I pull out this envelope with this holder, and I'm like, it's like the Holy Grail, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, like like
yes,
the lights.
that's right. Like that. I was thinking of Monty Python and the Holy Grail, like and you're like, surprise.
right. But it was so exciting for me to have this coin in my hands. And again, today these coins are all in these holders that you can't, that you literally would have to break it to get the coin out, because that's how they guarantee the authenticity, that it's in this tamper proof. But this coin, I'm taking it out of this old holder. I'm holding it in my bare hands,
like this.
Yeah, like, and it's very, as a coin collector, that's a good thing to tell your new collectors too, is when you hold a coin, you always hold it by the edges. Like, I don't know if you can even see, like if I hold a coin, you hold it like this way. You don't want to put your fingerprints all on the coin like this.
Exactly. You don't want to drop it either too. So guys, if you have some coins right now, make sure you pick it up, and we encourage you guys to take any pocket change out of here too, and you can also show it as well too. And that's a really good point too. You don't have fingerprints and messing things up, and I remember that too. You always hold by the edges. And also, when you talked about the tamper proof packaging and everything else, what is that tamper proof made of?
That's a good question. It's archival quality plastics. I don't know exactly what type of plastic, but it's archival quality, so it won't cause any damage to the coins over time. And that's an important thing too, because besides mishandling coins, coins can get damaged through just being used, from circulating. They get worn out. They can get a high grade coin. A fingerprint is enough to devalue it to a degree. But certain coins, depending on the metal, are kind of volatile metals. Copper will corrode very easily. So if you keep copper coins somewhere humid or against a material that isn't quite good for it, you can damage or destroy a rare coin because it can corrode. Gold is not so reactive. Gold coins, for example, there's some famous shipwrecks where they've recovered gold coins on the bottom of the ocean, and they look like brand new, which is amazing. But those holders that NGC, which is Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, and PCGS, which is Professional Coin Grading Service, the holders they use, they use materials that are inert, won't react, won't damage your coins. And if you drop it like I just did with this coin, you're not going to damage it. There's actually a funny story when we had a coin that at the time was about a $700,000 coin, and my son was about 2 years old, and I handed this coin to my son, and I asked my wife, "What do you think that coin's worth?" And she thought I was out of my mind when I told her, "Oh, it's like a $700,000 coin." But that's how much I trust these holders. It was in an NGC holder, and I knew that if he dropped it or, like you said, chomped on it, it wasn't going to damage that coin in any way. That's actually a coin that eventually, it's funny, things come full circle. That's actually the coin that eventually we sold for a little over $1 million. But I had handled that coin when I was still at Stax. That was before Rare Collectibles TV. So, but today, Rare Collectibles TV, we've handled a couple of 7-figure coins, quite a few 6-figure coins, but a lot of people, tons of collectors. We have a lot of collectors of all. I don't want people to think, don't call Rare Collectibles TV unless you have $1 million. We sell tons of coins for just a few $100s, few $1,000s. Every kind of category, every kind of collector. Everybody starts somewhere, and not everybody has $1 million. I don't to buy
Mhm.
a coin for my personal collection.
And of course, I'm waiting for my wooden nickel so I can put my big teeth into it and make sure it's good too. Just like Underdog back in the day, make sure the nickels are good. Bless you, sure. Like that, you
Right,
just put a chomp on it and make sure the coin is good. So,
right.
but speaking of the coins as well too, like you started you and Rick started RCTV or rarecollectiblestv.com, and tell us about the beginnings of it and the evolution of it, and what was it like for you to start a network like that when you have coins and everything else, and of course, how often do you see a coin network that's exclusively devoted to coins? I mean, that's a really unique product you guys got out there.
Right. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, but yeah, the beginning was, it was kind of me and Rick Tamaska and our other partner, Greg. And we're, in the beginning, I'm filming shows for TV, and then I'm answering phones and ordering, coins from suppliers and looking for coins, and, kind of, taping boxes shut, and you're doing everything. And, we've grown it over the last 7 years. So Rare Collectibles TV, and we now have over 100 employees. We've built it from initially just being on TV to now having a website. And also one of the kind of coolest things is we now have a group we call the Private Advisory Coin Team, which we may evolve to call the Private Advisory Collectibles Team, now that we're, my background and Rick's background is coins, but we're now getting into some other collectibles, militaria,
Oh.
vintage movie posters, things. But we've grown it to have this group, this private advisory team that will work one-on-one with people. So they might start by seeing something on TV. They buy, and say they buy a Morgan dollar, and an old silver dollar from the 1800s on TV. Well, then they can work with our team one-on-one, and I'll help look for coins with them. And we find things, oh, now I want to build a collection. There might be coins that, I need a certain kind of quantity to go on TV. If I go on TV, I say I have one of these. Well, if it sells, I have a lot of disappointed people. So I have to have, some kind of quantity for TV. But then you might start getting more into your collection, say, I want other Morgan dollars or other gold coins, or whatever it is. And we say, well, okay, these are the ones you saw on TV, but we can find these other coins for you, and we'll, help build a collection, with you, which is, that to me is a lot of fun, because we're helping people, kind of build these collections together. And it's I don't know, it's exciting to me. The TV part of it, though, is I never had any kind of desire or goal to be on TV. I kind of fell into it,
Or just
which
hand
is,
it to you.
yeah, which is kind of a funny thing, because I'm kind of this, like, I don't mind doing it. I like it because, the great thing about it is I get to share this passion with a lot more people than I would if I was just, if I just had a little coin store or something like this. So, and again, we have this other partner whose background was in media and marketing. So through his expertise, we're able to do it in a way that's really exciting. So, I can tell you about a coin, but then we have a team of editors and, production staff that, when Rick's talking about those 1964 Kennedy half dollars that we were just discussing, the first year, when Rick's talking about it on TV, we can show you charts of how many were made. We can show you, you'll see footage of Kennedy, making his speech about, putting a man on the moon. You'll see all this stuff. So it's kind of, as much as we're here to help build coin collections and sell coins, we're also doing it in a way that hopefully is entertaining. And, I know people who sometimes, I have friends who don't collect coins, who they'll sit down and watch the show just because they enjoy the content. And hopefully it's educational. So these people aren't just buying some random thing and they don't really understand it. Hopefully they understand the story behind these things, the history behind these things, because there's so many aspects to coins and any collectible, really. There's the thing that makes these items desirable, the reason people want to own them, is the story that goes with them. And sometimes that story is you know, it's very rare and there's only a couple known, but a lot of more times the story is that history, you know, this is that coin that was made to honor Kennedy. You know, this is that funny 1955 penny that the mint made a mistake. You know, stories that go with it. And by doing this on TV with this, you know, great production team, we can get great imagery. You can really see what it is we're talking about. You can see the intricacies and the details of these coins. And it's such a kind of great way to kind of spread the word about this hobby that's been so much fun for me. So, you know, it's exciting too that Rare Collectibles TV, as much as my background is coins, I feel like most collectors have this kind of collecting gene or collecting bug. Like almost every coin collector I know, they collect something else too. Like I collect football cards with my son.
Oh,
I
my
collect
favorites.
records.
My gosh. Yes. I remember back in the days, you went and, you spent a penny, spent a nickel, spent a dime, spent a quarter, then like a $50, a buck or something. You got yourself a pack of cards with a free gum in it, and hopefully your favorite players in there, or like the rarest card of all. It's like there's always a joy in that. I remember that.
Right, right. So I'm enjoying that with my son today, and I collect records, and you know, most people who collect stuff collect all kinds of things. So, like I said, we started recently getting into militaria. We have a great expert here named Peter Carlin, who's been a appraiser and expert in militaria for a long time, that now has joined our team. He's a good friend, and he, you know, so we have all these antique, you know, guns from the Civil War and
Wow.
helmets and swords. Flags are very popular. You know, the
Oh
old
my
flags,
gosh. Yes.
48 stars or 46 stars. You know, so that's a lot of fun, and the connection with coins is very, you know, so many people say, I collect coins from this era, I'd like to get a flag from that era, or like I said, we're doing movie posters, but there's also some of these political posters, you know, those like Uncle Sam, I want you for the army, you know, posters and things that you know, I get so excited when some of these different hobbies kind of intersect together. You know, it's just exciting for me.
And by the way, do you still have that Honus Wagner baseball card from that tobacco company still? I mean, be honest. If you don't, I'll sell it for Babe Ruth.
I wish. Yeah, the T206. That's the holy grail of baseball cards. Those are. I wish I had one of those.
Oh my gosh! Every time I think about that Honus Wagner baseball card, I want to say to my grandfather, great grandfather, how come you didn't get me this earlier? So,
right.
And what else do you plan on featuring on in terms of collectibles as well? Too, you got into militia, you also got into you know, trading cards and everything else. What are some of the other plans you plan on getting to in terms of collectibles?
You know, we'll see. Like I said, we started with militaria. We're just starting with vintage movie posters. We have some really, that's a lot of fun. You know, we have a lot of, you know, kind of popular areas, Star Wars, James Bond.
Oh, nice.
We have a very rare Casablanca poster, original poster from Casablanca.
Wow.
That's probably the most rare, valuable one we have at the moment. But we have all kinds of different areas. We're starting to do some more of the also concert posters. We actually recently bought a poster of the Beatles' last concert at Candlestick Park.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Which is a big deal. So I don't know, beyond that, I could see us doing sports. We have some cool sports memorabilia on the walls, but we don't really deal in it yet, but I could see us going there. You know, it's hard to say. Art, certainly art we're going to do. I could see us doing jewelry. Watches are a popular area. Collectibles in general have been really, really popular in the last couple of years. It's like anything, you know, things come and go in their popularity. Coins has kind of always been there. Yeah, sometimes it's more popular than other times, but the last few years, and I think a lot of it was just with COVID, people were indoors and couldn't do a lot of things. So they started looking at these hobbies, and collecting is something you can do at home today.
Yes, that's right.
You know, because Rare Collectibles TV, you know, you can buy a collectible on TV, you can buy it on our website, you can buy it on the phone. And it's something that a lot of people kind of found this renewed passion because they couldn't travel and do, you know, sports or do whatever they were doing, you know, before COVID.
or trying to get rid of junk in their house too, which I'm about to do pretty soon too. And I'm going to start finding some stuff. And where can we get more information about Rare Collectibles TV, and where can they find you at?
Yeah, if you go to our website, rarecollectiblestv.com, I'm not nearly as good as you as rattling off the places that we can be.
Don't worry about it. I'm sure they can look it up.
I'm impressed.
You got the internet, for Christ's sake.
We are on DirecTV, we're on Dish, we're on Time Warner. You'll see some of our programming on the weekends. Oftentimes we'll run infomercials on Fox Business, CNBC, Bloomberg. So we're on, check your local cable provider, because we're on different channels and different locations, but you'll see Rick's US Coin Show. That's our programming.
Okay.
But it's Rare Collectibles TV, and rarecollectiblestv.com is the website. And you'll see, a lot of information up there. We have a YouTube page, Facebook, Instagram, Rare Collectibles TV. You'll see a lot of, informative and hopefully entertaining programming in those places too.
That's certainly amazing. And what's coming up next for Jack McNamara of RCTV? We'll find out just 1 minute. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Also brought to you by our official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We'll be back with veteran coin collector and owner of RCTV, Jack McNamara, after this time out. We're back with RCTV's Jack McNamara and veteran coin collector here on the Mike Wagner Show. And Jack, I learned a lot from you, and I'm ready to scavenge through what I have right here. Maybe try to get a collectible of this or collectible of that and everything. And maybe I can find a couple of pennies or so. And what can we expect me in 2022 and beyond, Jack?
That's a great question. I think hopefully expanding to more collectible categories and just trying to help people learn about this hobby that's been so much fun for me. My grandfather got me into it. His grandfather got him into it. He actually advertised coins for sale in the 1880s in New York. So I'm just excited to keep coming out and talking to people like you, Mike, and let people know. We have some people here in my private advisory coin team. One of the most knowledgeable coin guys I know, who's been collecting now for probably about 5 years. When he started with us, he didn't even realize people collected coins. So that's why I love getting out here and sharing this, because it shocks me, but not everyone even realizes this is a thing. And when they discover it, they go, wow, this is fun. And like I said, you can start by just picking through your change. You get one of those state quarter books, and then eventually, you might want silver coins, gold coins, all different, ancient coins, there's so many categories that you can get into, but you don't have to, you can start just going through your change, to begin with.
And that's a really good point. I'll do so after this. And besides your grandfather and great grandfather, who's you consider biggest influence in your career?
My career, probably my partners, Rick Tamaska, Greg Thomas. Actually, the Stacks family, Harvey Stack was a great mentor and friend. His son, Larry Stack, those guys were really important in my career. But I'd say in the world of coins, besides my parents, who aren't as into coins as me, but have always been incredibly supportive and great mentors as well. But in business and I would say Rick Tamaska and Greg Thomas.
That's certainly amazing too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Do a little homework first. Watch our show, and before you go and buy something, learn a little bit about it. And hopefully that's what we do at Rare Collectibles TV. We educate you before you take that step and jump in and start buying coins.
And that's certainly a great idea as well too. While you guys are going through your pockets trying to find the rarest coin, we're here with Jack McNamara of RCTV here on the Mike Wagner Show. Jack, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Learned a lot from you. Looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date, keep in touch. We'd love to have you back and wish you all the best. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact you, and where can people simply check out RCTV and more?
Great. Thank you so much, Mike. Yeah, rarecollectiblestv.com. Great to be here. Thank you, Mike.
All right, and certainly do. Jack, a very big thank you for your time. You've been totally amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Make sure you keep us up to date, keep in touch. Love to have you back. Wish you all the best, and you've got a great future ahead of you.